Hey guys, Trav here. Pangburn broadcaster Masha Jagasdottir now has her own Pangburn YouTube channel. Please head over and subscribe to her channel. I really think she's going to be one of the big heavy hitters in intellectualism. I truly believe that. Mark my words. So go over, like her videos, subscribe to the channel, watch her conversations. I think they're very important. I wanted to bring you guys one of her recent discussions here to the main Pangburn channel between herself and Melina Goransson. You might know her as streamer Destiny's girlfriend, but trust me, she is a lot more than that. She proved this in this discussion they had. I thought it was a brilliant discussion. They talk about issues of love, polyamory, and a really interesting topic, this culture of red pill men, so-called red pill men. Are red pill men scared of women? Is that really what's at the core of this ideology? Or is it something different? Let's get into it. And again, don't forget to head over and subscribe to Masha's new channel.
So I'm like the resident female supremacist on the Penguin Hangout. So the thing that I'm not going to do today is ask you about your partner or, sabotage you conversationally or play any kind of like gotcha about anything to do
Nothing
with
like that. Nothing like gotta debate me about how to live life or how to change my life into any better or anything.
No, not even a little bit. I don't even, not even the tiniest interest to do that. No. I mean, sometimes we get into those kind of conversations, but I don't think, I mean, I've watched some of your recent videos, and I think that it's something that I don't think comes across very well when hosts try to do it to you.
No, it's fun though. It's fun. It's always a little unexpected to me because I think I wouldn't do that as a host. I would like try to like figure out like new perspectives or like how to live life or whatever. But usually just try to like, no, you're living life wrong and I know better than you do. For some reason they think, yeah, but it's always interesting and fun, I guess, for me.
It's interesting to watch the way that you kind of like sidestep a lot of stuff, and I especially liked sometimes these men think that they're going to like dominate the conversation or like force you into a certain dynamic, and you just completely are like, no.
Or like when they call like you're adorable and cute and submissive, and I'm like,
yeah.
I'm like, well, okay, yeah. I mean, I think that's pretty common with women like that they like to do that. They like to like be condescending and like try to push you down because they feel really threatened. Yeah,
I agree. Especially, I mean, I don't know I don't want to like assume about where you think that comes from. So where do you think that is? Like, why are they so threatened by you, and why do they insist on that dynamic with you?
I think they're very insecure. Like they're so insecure that they need to like prove to everyone that their way of thinking is the correct one, and they're trying to like force on other people. I'm not really sure why they're so threatened by like other ways of thinking, and they're not like interested or anything. They just have like really decided that their belief system is the correct one, and that really just shows insecurity to me. That they must be so unsure about life that they need to like really be proven by everyone that they are like thinking the most correct way.
I agree. And do you think that is because their arguments can't actually stand challenge? Like, wouldn't actually hold up if they were open to a challenging a challenging conversation about them? Or do you think that they're kind of ideologues and the brand is basically just like to forcefully state sort of like nonsensical ideas?
I feel like they are so threatened and so insecure that they can't like think about anything else. So their point is to basically just like have this image to try to put it on everyone and like really speak so highly about themselves because they really feel like they need to do so. That's how it comes off to me. Because they're so scared of ever looking at any other ways of living. That's why they're not like interested or like asking questions to like learn or like understand. There's like no understanding at all. Usually where it comes from is just more like, I really feel like I need to like prove to everyone around me and to this person that I am the best and that my way of thinking is the best one. There's very little understanding that comes out of it.
Yeah. And do you think that part of that is just like protecting the brand? Like, I think for a lot of the manosphere, men or women, there's like this right, like this image that can't be perturbed lest they be like, you know, diminished in the eyes of their sort of like base.
I mean, if they built up their entire image and their entire like job and what they're doing, I don't think they can afford to change any arguments. I don't think they're very interested in it, because they would lose their entire audience if they did so. So I know like a few people that has done politics for a very long time, or they've done like these sort of like arguments a lot. And I know that secretly, like if I talk to them privately, they actually disagree with a lot of things that they say, but they feel forced to keep doing it because they've been doing it for so long that they wouldn't ever even, like, there's no space to change your mind, because your entire audience would just go against you in that case.
Yeah. Do you think that there have been some real missed opportunities in some past interviews? Like, were there things that you were really looking forward to discussing that maybe people just like completely like missed that open door?
I don't know. I usually just like, the only thing I really care about is like not being interrupted when I speak, I guess, because I get so sidetracked. Like I can argue and like we can talk about all sorts of stuff. I think at the end of the day, like my goal is to just like prove to other people that there's a lot of other ways of thinking, and there's a lot of other like paths to take in life that fits you. And there's not just like what your parents have said or what your friends have said that is the only image of your life that they could be. I kind of want to open up the mind of like, there's a lot of different ways of living, and whatever feels comfortable for you is the way to go. So if you want to live like the trad wife thing, or if you want to actually like marry like a red pill guy or whatever, you're like so free to do so. But I think there should be an opportunity for other people to speak about, there's other ways of living as well. There's no like correct way. There's not like black and white. There's a lot of gray areas, you know? It's kind of my goal, I guess.
Yeah. No, I tend to agree. Sorry, I'm having like issues with my equipment again.
Oh, it's all right. Don't worry about it. Take your time if you need anything. Yeah.
Yeah. I really want to know about. There's a few times that you identified yourself as an artist, and then the person you were speaking with just completely was like, "Who fucking cares?" Basically. So
I guess. Well, isn't that sad? Like I feel like. I don't really, I'm trying to figure out where this comes from. It must be just like a lot of insecurity, because, and they've like found out that like the only way for you to be like a high value person is if you follow these exact steps. And I'm like, but there's like so much more to life than just that. Like for me, when it comes to humans, I care about like what they're passionate about, even though it might not be my interest in passion, but just like hearing them like be passionate and like be very excited about something is enough for me. So if someone is like really passionate about painting or really passionate about a sport, whatever, that means so much more to me than like how much money they're making. And I wish that people could see that could be a case of existing. And there are people out there that would like you for things that's not just about like the most shallow things. It's more about the things that makes you feel meaning in life. That's what I care about. And I think more people should care about. I think there would be a lot more healthy relationships when people come together and they're just enjoying the same sort of stuff, or they have like a chemistry about the interests that they have, or the things that they like to joke about, or the sort of the dynamic that they have, you know, that sort of stuff is what I think should be more focused on relationships.
Yeah, what's your understanding of that that whole idea of like high value people? Like, so I'll tell you, I'm from the Balkans. I'm interested in Americanisms. Like it's an interesting kind of like culture to me, but I really quite outside of it. Like I prefer that position as like a really kind of external observer. And like every time that I try to sort of like dip my toes into that stream to like figure out what the fuck is going on, like what are people talking about, I can't really make sense of it, because like the high value stuff meeting the conservative sort of like patriarchal male dominated sort of like stream of thought, but then there's also this like red pill like based like don't make children, don't marry women, don't like I just like it's so illegible to me, you know.
It almost sounds, have you ever seen the show Nathan For You?
No.
You know, okay, it's about a guy that's like he helps businesses, but he helps them out in like the most weird way possible to get there. So, you know, like, you know, what is it called? You know, when you build like a bunch of dominoes and like a lot of like things happening for one thing to happen at the end of it, instead of just like pressing a button, there's like an entire like crazy thing for it to happen there pretty much. But it's like a lot more complicated than it is. So his show is basically about it, making it really strange and complicated for a goal that could be a lot easier than it is. Kind of, it's just really funny. It's like a comedy show. But I feel like when I'm listening to these red pill people, they're just like coming up with these like really strange things. So I was listening to a podcast yesterday and they were talking about you shouldn't ever live with your wife or live with your partner because in that case they're going to get bored of you. So you should always have this tension of like being hard to get. And I'm like, bro, that's not what like an actual relationship is about. You're making it so much more complicated than it actually is. Like you shouldn't ever do this, or you can never show this thing, or you should always dress this way. And it's like, you can't like, instead of just finding someone that likes you for you, that you can just relax with, and that you don't need to like put up like a ton of like shallow things like in front of you. Like, why wouldn't you want to have someone get to know you for you? And like, because that's kind of what a relationship is, right? But I don't think these people have ever felt that way. I think they've been very lonely, and I think they've lacked a lot of like skills how to make someone like them, or how to feel like they can get a chemistry with someone, or opening up, like being submissive, like vulnerable and emotional with someone. So they're like come up with all these like really ridiculous like things to do to try to get something that is not what a relationship is at the end of the day. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Great. So now we're on to relationships. Yeah. Do you think that the current culture is maybe like hostile to authentic relationships and like open communication and that like healthy like vibe between people? Like, do you think that there's I mean, I'll tell you, I think that there's a lot of transactionality, and I think that there's a lot of inauthenticity. Like there's like this whole idea for both sexes in like heterosexual relationship kind of ideology of like basically deceive the other person until they're like stuck with you or some version of that.
Yes. I'm not sure if it's like if it goes for the whole world, but I feel like the red pill community is absolutely like that. But I also don't think that the red pill community is like everyone. So I think this is like a very, very small group of people that's been really like loud the past few months or year, you know, ever since Undertake became popular. But I don't think it's everyone, and I think a lot of people get this, but I still think that a lot of people don't really know how to communicate, and I don't really think that a lot of people know how to be emotionally vulnerable with one another. I think this is something that we're really bad in society to like teach. I think women are better at it, but only because we kind of allow women to be a lot more emotional from a young age. So a lot of men don't really know how to like, can I be vulnerable? Can I cry in front of my partner? Like those sort of things. So that's a bit different. But otherwise, I don't think that the red pill community is like everyone in the world right now, especially not in Europe, especially not because that's where
right.
Yeah. I think it's probably a lot more in America, but I think it's a very, very small group of people, but they've been very loud.
Yeah. From one European to another, it is making its way over, especially to Central Europe, like probably for your generation, for like that cohort of kind of like Zoomer, like Gen Z people trying to figure out dating, you know, in this kind of like new culture. So what I've observed in Central Europe is sort of like this real divide between like super traditionalists and then like the very modern stuff is like very kind of like Western. But yeah, so how have you navigated that, like coming, you know, like with a kind of like European, like I would say fairly cosmopolitan and like progressive mindset, and then you're sort of like dumped into this culture?
Well, for me, it's like I think it's insane. I think it's almost like imagine if you went to another country where things were like extremely different from yours. Just because you came from another place, it doesn't really make me feel like I'm wrong in the things that I'm thinking, because I come from a culture where everyone kind of thinks the same as I do. So it doesn't really like affect me in that way. I'm like, I never like think that maybe they're right about this or whatever, because I've through so many years, I've lived in one sort of culture where the ways of my thinking is correct, or like the best way of thinking. So it is a bit strange. It kind of feels like I'm talking to a cult. So let's say that you would like step into a room where there's a bunch of people that believe some insanity stuff, but you're like the only person in the room. It doesn't mean that just because if there's 100 people in the room thinking something and I'm coming in there and I'm thinking something different, I don't think that I'm wrong. It doesn't really affect me that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I get it. I feel like I'm a stranger in a strange land, and then also sort of like observing from the outside. And so like I feel like those rules aren't for me. So I'm like kind of free to just do what I'm doing, right? But
yes, exactly. That's the thing. So it's nice that way, because I think I can speak on these things pretty well without getting like upset or too emotional or anything like that. I don't really have any trauma about sex or like being like really forced in a religion from a young age, like a lot of Americans have. So for me, it's very easy to just kind of like laugh at the crazy, I guess, but also try to understand it and try to like in a playful way try to make them understand, or at least like the audience might change their mind if they hear someone else speak on it. I guess the only thing that's a little worrying is I've noticed that there's some guys in Europe that has started to like the red pill community a little bit. So I know that it's not just America, because my sister was dating a guy, and he started to say sometime like, "Oh, I think this Undertake guy is correct about things," but I think it's just from, I don't know, like seeing it so much that, and some people are so easy to like change if they see it, like the mass majority to like if they're only like scrolling on TikTok and the only thing that comes up is the red pill stuff. I feel like it might affect people in a little bit in some way, you know. That's a little
I think it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I've like Reddit is full of these stories of like men trying to apply red pill, like, or Andrew Tate, or like that kind of like dating advice, and just like destroying relationships and just being devastated.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's pretty crazy, for sure. I think it's really sad, but I think it's legit just because I think for a long time now, feminism has been really, really good for women. Like we can like do more like manly stuff. Like we can work and make a lot of money, or we can get strong, or we can do all these like cool things, and it's fine. Like it's been really good that way. But for men, they haven't really gained anything back, because all the cool stuff is like the things that's like manly and stuff, right? So we're better at that. But what they need to do is probably they need to get a little bit more emotional, and we need to accept them for being vulnerable and emotional and almost like, you know, like submissive, which is not seen as like a really great thing, right? It's never really been seen as a good thing to be emotional and submissive. So I think the world needs to be a lot more accepting for that to happen, and they need to be a lot more accepting for men to become a little bit more feminine in that way. I think that'd be really good for men. But just because femininity isn't that cool, and it's never really been that cool to be feminine, I think it's really hard. So I try to speak on that quite a bit. Like we should let men be more emotional. I think women need to step up as well and get better at listening to men and listening to their feelings and listening to whatever pain they're going through, whatever thoughts they're having, instead of just thinking like, I'm always right just because I'm a girl. And if I'm ever uncomfortable in a relationship, that means that I'm the only one that gets to say something, you know? So I think women need to step up and like let men do that more. And I think men needs to like be brave enough to do it a little bit more too. But it's really hard when women are not open for it either, you know?
I've heard a lot of men say that they feel like devalued in those moments when they're trying to build that real intimacy that comes from mutuality and from knowledge of each other's like kind of most intimate like fears and anxieties and stuff, that they feel like that woman then no longer sees them the same way, or isn't, you know, maybe isn't attracted to them anymore. Like there's these, it seems from my perspective, like these gender roles are becoming more rigid, even as we you know sort of like empower people to express their gender in more fluid ways. But like gender roles are also kind of like looking more regressive to me. Like femininity is still very devalued. Like there isn't that like idea of like the strong matriarch, like that the super feminine but very strong like stoic matriarch is like something that I'm seeking to embody, and like that I think is missing in kind of like popular discourse. You know, femininity seems to always be equated with passivity, with receptivity, with, you know, like submission, which
which a lot of people don't value as like something strong or brave or anything that's like cool or, you know, needed. But I really do believe it is. So I think the world needs to really step up when it comes to like going to therapy. It doesn't mean that you're crazy. Like it means that you're just trying to like have a brain coach, like, because that's all it is. We're just like a bunch of meat bags that have a bunch of feelings. That's like what our reality is. And it seems like it's such a taboo thing to talk about, having reactions or feeling emotional, feeling vulnerable or weak. It's always like seen as like the least like confident thing ever. I think it's a lot worse when you're when you want to be that confident, but you can never show any like real emotions at any time. And it seems like a lot of people are having issues with that still. And I think that's why it's so hard to like be in this world, and that's why we're having so many people that are depressed, because everyone feels lonely because no one actually dares to open up or like share these things, you know.
Interesting. Yeah. I have a male training client who like really only has like emotional like he's like highly emotionally continent, let's say. Like he's very careful, very stoic, but like after really heavy lifts, like he's like that's the moment where like it's almost like he has to like accomplish like a feat of strength before he's able to be vulnerable enough to like be emotional. Like,
well, it's true, isn't it? I mean, it is hard. It's really hard to talk about the things that you're feeling, and sometimes we don't even know how to like take the things that we're experiencing and feeling into words, because we don't have words enough for it. Like it's really hard, you know. So I get that. I fully understand it. I hope that people can recognize that that is a thing that we really need to do, and that we should have more, like even in school there should be more like conversations about how to express emotions, or how to express needs or boundaries, or even just like how to be in a relationship, because that's hard. It's like a lot of work. It can't just be like that perfect, because it's two people with a bunch of feelings, and how do you control them yourself, and how do you help someone else, or how do you listen, or if you get into a fight, how do you communicate with those things? It's very little you know, there's not many people that can teach you that stuff. We haven't really put that out there much.
Yeah, and I mean, I think in my experience, there's like a somatic aspect to emotion. Like there's things that happen in the body when emotion is repressed, and when like I think that physical activity and physical things can help a person like open up emotionally. Have you had that experience?
Yeah, I think so. I think you can like I think for any sort of for any sort of I think it's really good to be like healthy and to be physically active. I think that's really, really, really good. I think it helps us think, and it helps us like release tension. And like whenever I feel bad, I wouldn't want to go to bed and just lay there. That's not a good idea. It's never going to be, even though it feels really good to just lay there in bed and it's warm and nice and you feel really shitty, but you're also like, with this blanket, it feels so nice. And, you know, it feels like that's what the demons just absolutely love, like the mind demons. But going out for a walk usually clears your brain for sure. And you feel like you can easily just think things through a lot better than just feeling like you're looping in a bunch of like panic thoughts, you know? So getting out, walking, going to the gym, doing those sort of things are great. Yeah, I fully agree. Yeah. That's why I'm so physically active. I go for walks every day. I go to the gym every day. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, same. I kind of wanted to maybe talk to you a bit about like weightlifting. Is that something that like, did you come to that? How did you come to that? Because I feel like that community has really like opened up a lot. I've been in strength sports for like 15 years.
Yes.
And all of a sudden it's women.
Yeah, I'm not really, okay. So for me, I've always been very physically active. I've always been like doing tons of activities. I used to do a swimming competition stuff when I was younger. I did ballroom dancing. I did karate for a while. I did tennis. I've been always like very, very physically active. And then when I started quitting those things because I didn't have time and I was unlucky with some things that I was doing, I remember I was sitting on the couch for a half a year not doing anything when I was like 12 years old. And I remember that was probably the first time I got really depressed because I just wasn't really physically active anymore. So it was such a huge like change for me. But then I started going to the gym. I started like power walking, going for runs, and I started going like swimming just on my own, like going to just practice and like train a little bit for my own physical health and my mental health. So I've always been very, very active. I don't think it was until 2 years ago when I started to like lift more, because I was thinking this, okay, this is where it came from. I was thinking, if I'm getting like a really good physique, like I'm lifting a lot, I think a lot of people are going to respect me a lot more and take me more seriously. And I'm also going to feel a lot better if I do so. So I realized like 3 years ago when I was doing online stuff, and I'm like a very like open person that likes to like show my body, or I don't care if I'm in a bikini, or I don't really care how I dress up. I can like put a big shirt on, but I can also be like half naked. I think it's like a fun thing to do. It's fun. And it's like me expressing myself a lot more. That's my experience, right? But I realized like if I'm doing weightlifting and I'm really strong, that's also another reason for maybe why people would think it's a lot cooler because I'm like, okay, I'm actually like putting work in, so now I can like show that a lot more. I'm feeling better, getting a lot more respect for sure. And I think it's cool also to be a woman that other women can look up to for like being strong and like being confident and like doing stuff, because I want to get more people to do this sort of stuff too and feel like they can do this stuff too. They can also be strong, they can also be confident, they can also argue against people. It's a lot of fun, you know. There should be more of that in the world, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. A lot of women that I train with, like, they do have aesthetic goals that are like basically things like I want a big dump truck ass and stuff.
That's the thing, yeah.
That's not so
Great.
much like
good for them, yeah.
yeah, of course, like absolutely, we can do that.
Yeah.
That's also, I think that's just as valid. Like aesthetic goals for your physique are, I think, completely okay. Like I don't know why women in particular are sometimes, you know, shamed for that, or
they usually don't want to look like men, but I feel like usually whenever they actually get into it, they're like, wait, that's kind of cool to have, you know, the guns. Like they actually do feel kind of nice about it when they've gotten into it. But a lot of women are just like, oh, but if I'm having like too much of an upper body, I'm going to be like too masculine or something. But I don't think that usually goes for it. I mean, it's also like really fun. Like when you start noticing, you go to the gym and you lift really heavy and you're like the heaviest you can, and then a few weeks later you've stepped up so much more in weight, and it's like, damn, I could do that. I went from this, and I remember it was impossible a few weeks ago to do this, but now I can. It makes you feel like you can do anything, like in life. Right. Like if I just put some time into it, you can do anything. It's really cool. And like the only thing that's hard is basically just get over the mentality of doing it, right? But if you take the small little steps and you put some time into it, you're gonna get there. So that's also really good with weightlifting or any sort of activity, really, just to see the process of everything.
Yeah, I think that idea, that concept of progressive overload that we use in weightlifting to increase, you know, your capacity to load weight, regardless of the lift. I think that translates into so many other like aspects of life, right? Like if you continue to test what you think are those boundaries of your capabilities, you find that you kind of break through them continually, right? And then, and I do think that that's a very worthy life project, you know, for a being out there that's trying to experience everything that life has to offer.
Yeah. No, for sure. It's like, it doesn't even necessarily need to be weightlifting. It could be any sort of thing, right? Like as what's his name? Jordan Peterson says, like just like cleaning your room or making your bed in the morning is like step enough for you to be like, okay, I could do that, then I'm doing the next thing. So it's just like about the mentality. If you start doing like disciplined stuff and you start waking up on time, or you take like small steps to like the goal of what you're doing. So let's say that you're sleeping all day. Instead of trying to like, I'm going to wake up at 6 a.m. every single morning, just put the timer like 1 hour, like take a week and then just put 1 hour back every single day when the alarm is going off. So, and at the end of the day, like from waking up at noon, you can wake up at 6 a.m., but like in a week, right? If you want to get that, and then you can get a lot more time, you get a lot more sunlight, you can get like more time if you want to go out for a walk or you want to go to the gym. Like it's just like the small little steps that is going to make a change. And when you do the small things, when you start with those, you can make the big things at the end of the year. Let's say that, right?
And do you think that that's a matter of like discipline, or a matter of building habits, or is it a relationship with the self that you're building, that you're prioritizing?
Isn't it all? I think it is like habits, right? But also being more disciplined. And being more disciplined makes you feel more disciplined in your mind. So it makes it a lot easier to understand yourself and because you're, instead of feeling like you can't do things or you're feeling lazy, you can't get up, and it's kind of like, I think there's like smaller things that you can do. So one thing that you can do as well, if you have a really hard time, like starting a project that you really want to do, if you wake up in the morning, right? Or make your bed, but also like, even as a simple thing is like stepping into the shower that it's really, really cold, and try to set a timer on how long you can stand in the shower to train your brain to like do things even though you really don't want to. It's like there's like the little small things that you can do, and then you can use that sort of mentality or that feeling with other things that's more important, right, than just like being in a cold shower. So I think just like training your brain and like see your brain as like something that you can train is a really good thing, and it goes into everything, right? I think it does.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree. I'm not a fan of cold immersion or cold shower. I'm not like, I like sauna. Like that's my deal.
It works too, I guess. You can stand
But
there
respect,
and be like,
like yeah. I just can't, like, if it like starts to hit my kind of like the front midline, belly, breasts, whatever, like cold water, I'm like, I'm out. No, like
it sucks.
I
Yeah,
don't care who I have to fight. I'm out.
No, but I think it can be nice because it like channels like being like, I don't want to do this and I don't feel like it, and I would rather just want to do this instead. That's like not the best for me. If you do something that you really don't want and you train that, you can start putting that into other things in your life. Yeah.
Right. So as a practice of discipline, like
going to the gym is one of them. But going to the gym can be really hard for a lot of people because they haven't really done it yet. It's hard to start it, especially when you feel like, when you're like, I don't really know even how to do this. I feel like a loser. Who do I even think I am? Everyone else is a lot better than me. Those sort of thoughts. But it's like, you just got to go there and go through that. I would say the hardest part about working out is the first few times, before you actually get into a routine. It's just like the 5 first times is going to be really hard. And after those times, it's going to be a lot easier. So if you can do those 5 times, you're good,
Very true. I have like 3 gym memberships, 2 private gyms and a commercial gym. Yeah. And the only reason I keep the commercial gym membership is I love to see new people. Like I love to see those like New Year's resolution people, hitting the gym for like probably the first time in their lives and looking kind of ridiculous. I love to like encourage them and like, oh, hey, like, what are you working on today? And like, yeah, that program looks good. Like just, I love that.
To like just feel welcoming to the people that's like, I'm not really sure, but hey, no one is sure when they started. You just fucking go there and you're gonna get it. Like no one, here's the thing. I think this is what people think, right? But no one at the gym actually is ever going to judge you for what you're doing. They're just going to be really happy that you're there. Like that's the gym community. It's like everyone is supportive. Everyone wants you to do better, no matter if it's your first time or if you've been there 100 times, Everyone's
100%.
really supportive. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. So yeah, if you're out there, you're listening, just come to the gym. Just like come and talk to us, even if we're like loading up multiple plates on the leg press and we look like angry as fuck. Probably as soon as we see your face trying to be eager and ask us questions, we're gonna be like, oh yeah.
Well, it's always fun. Like I think I had a woman that saw me do some hip thrusts, and I did like really, really heavy plates, and she was like, "How did you do that?" Well, thanks. I appreciate that. You can see there's a lot of weights that I'm doing. Yeah. Even though you might not notice, physically, but like there's a lot of weights that I'm putting on this, But it's super fun. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, women can hip thrust like that. I love that as a feat of strength in the gym. Like
the biggest muscle is the one that's like the hardest one for me, at least. Like I need to do it at the end of the gym sessions because there's so much energy that just goes into it because the glutes are the biggest muscle, So
yeah, and the source of vitality. Yeah, I know. I like training the whole posterior chain, honestly. Unlike a lot of people hate leg day, and I'm like, I'm here for it. 2 hours, yes. I don't know. It gets like that too, though. Like you kind of get addicted to it, I think. So
I think so too.
Yeah, people are finding it.
Yeah, it's hard. Just the first few days is gonna suck, but after that, you're all good. It feels great. Yeah.
Yeah, especially once you start seeing those numbers go up. And also I want to tell people who are doing that maybe for the first time is like the scale is a liar. Like you're going to see body recomp. You might not see a shift in your body weight, but like you're putting on muscle, you're dropping fat. If you're putting up bigger weights, like that's definitely happening. So don't be focused on that. And
yeah, of course. Yeah. No, it's great.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's a bunch of comments. Maybe we should engage with some of them. Yeah. Let's go back to IDK says, personally, I'm not attracted to feminine characteristics in a man at all. I want a man to be strong and confident, but I don't want to be submissive either. I want a relationship that's like a team. We're both strong and we support each other.
Mm-hmm. I think we're humans. All of us have emotions. Some of us are better at controlling them and some of us are not. And some people are better at suppressing them, which I would not recommend for anyone to do because I think that's going to it's going to boil up somewhere in your life later on. I don't think you can run away from trauma that you might be having or things that you feel like you've been having to suppress because of an uncomfortable feeling. I think it's going to come up whenever there's a situation that could be really dramatic. I think your behaviors from the past that you've been suppressing is always going to come up. So instead of, I think you need to like face it and deal with it in some sort of way. I don't think that you necessarily should have a partner that's like listening to you cry every single day and you're having like extreme problems. You might be like suicidal. I don't think that's something that a partner is supposed to handle alone. I think you should probably, in that case, like you can talk to them a little bit about it, but they're not like a professional, you know, like psychologist or anything. You should probably talk to a therapist if you have like really extreme problems. But if you had a bad day or something really sad happened, or someone maybe passed away, or you might have lost some money somewhere or whatever, those things I think you should be able to like open up and be vulnerable about with your partner. Or if you have any like certain feelings or like any insecurities about yourself, like having some sort of pep talk and some sort of like validation thing with someone feels really, really good, I think. And I think that's like a team thing. I think you should be equally as much to one another. It's not like the man or the woman should be like completely just like, I'm in control of everything, whatever. I don't think anyone is really a leader. It should be equal, just like as a team, right? That's what I believe. That's why I don't really like the red pill stuff, because they think that the man is supposed to be in control of everything. They're never supposed to show any feelings or emotions. I think that is going to make everyone feel really alone. I think it's going to make you feel alone if you're hiding your feelings to someone. You feel like you can't show them because you're not connecting emotion any sort of way with anyone in that case. And it's going to be feeling really lonely for your partner as well, because they're never actually going to see your true self if you do that. So I think that's kind of the whole point of a relationship, is showing vulnerability to one another. For sure. I think that's great.
Yeah. John J. Parker says red pill culture, rational male style is very lame. And
Yeah.
I gotta agree. It also seems like a game that people must get tired of playing in their interpersonal relationships, right? Like it's so inauthentic that I can't imagine basically like playing a role the entire time, even in your most intimate moments. Just seems really tedious.
I mean, it's just going to make you feel lonely, because who are you supposed to talk to if it's not your partner about stuff, right? You're just going to isolate yourself, like your whole, like the inner self of yours, not like all the things that you do and not all the things that you present yourself to be. You want to be that really vulnerable, like child you know, that is having problems and that are excited about things, or has interest, or has really deep thoughts about stuff. And, you know, like those really emotional moments that you can have with yourself, it feels really good to do with a partner. But it's also really hard and really scary, because if you show vulnerability to someone, it could be very easy for them to mess you up because you're being vulnerable with them, right? Which I understand too.
Yeah. I think that's something we're talking about, is like being as a partner worthy of that other person's vulnerabilities, you know, like being, you know, I don't know if that's education or if that's doing work on yourself, but like, how do you make sure that you're able to show up for your partner in a way that makes it safe for them to show up as their authentic self, even when they're not at their best?
I think just like showing positivity is like whenever your partner actually comes forward, something that might be really emotional or really, really hard for them, or if you're like checking up on them, asking how they're doing, and they're just like trying to at least show a little bit, I think nurturing that behavior is really good. So you don't like get mad at them for saying something that is really like hard for them to tell you, because if you show some sort of like that you're being angry at it, they're never going to want to do it ever again. So whenever they do open up about something, you should really like nurture them and support them in what they're saying, even though you might not like it, which is really hard too, right? Because they might say something that you do not like at all. But to feel like not judgmental and to just like show them that you're not judging, maybe you could say like, I don't like this, but I support you and I want to listen to your problems and I want to work this out, is a lot better than just like taking it personally and stuff like that. Because I don't think it necessarily have to be the case, right? And that's where I think like, especially women need to be a lot better at listening and not just like see a thing and just make it their entire problem instead and like start panicking about it. You need to be like not judgmental, and you need to nurture that sort of behavior of being open. That's what I think. Yeah.
Yeah. There's more comments. So teams typically have leaders. Again, John J. Parker. I did want to say that in my experience, it's better to like that kind of like non like everything being collaborative, I find is can be very difficult. Like I think that there are times that each partner has like a distinct lane of responsibility and like should be in control of a particular project. It's like basically to me, whoever has the most knowledge in that field or that area, I don't mind like being, you know, directed in my actions if we're working on a project together. And like the, you know, a male partner is taking the lead because he knows better. You know, I don't find that I'm diminished in that moment, but like yeah, different arenas of authority. How do you think about that? Yeah.
I think that's perfectly fine. Like I'm thinking like I was thinking about this a few days ago. If I ever decided that I didn't want to do online stuff anymore and I felt like I wanted to do something else, maybe like money wise or whatever, but I wanted to like let's say that I wanted to push my partner into doing more stuff, or I would plan things for him, or I would set him up with things, or I would like go out and like try to collaborate with people just talking wise to try to make them talk to my husband. If I could like push him in the best ways that he can do, I still feel like he is the one that is like doing the main stuff, right? But I'm like supporting him in that sort of way. I think that's perfectly fine to do as well. If that's what people want to do, that's fine. I don't think I would want to do that right now personally, but it's like a way to do it, right? You can be like the background character in someone's life if you really want to be that, but you could still be supportive in what they're doing and you could help them out. I think that's what a partnership absolutely can be like. If that was
I mean, I think I'm talking more like about specific like arenas of like, for example, if my partner and I are building a shop or like you know, a house or whatever, and he has construction experience, I'm not going to try and be the boss of that. Like I'm not going to try and, you know, I'll like listen to him direct my actions. And conversely, if I have more experience in the gym, I'm going to write the program and I'm going to tell him what to do.
I think that's perfectly cool. If you there's things that you're always going to be better at and like not as good as your partner, right? Of course, if you want the other person to take over, like for example, I'm really bad with technology. I'm really bad at it. So I was kind of like nervous about setting this up, even though it's not that hard really, but I'm always like, fuck, am I going to be able to set this up? So I had him like in the background, like maybe you can like help me out if something like technology goes wrong, whatever. Because my brain is just not wired that way. I think I'm better at other things, and he's a lot better at more like technical, like mathematic things. I'm terrible at that sort of stuff. So I think that's good. I think like differences between people can be really good because when you work as a team on different things, yeah, of course, I think that's great.
Yeah. There's a comment: the feminine experience / urge of feeling obligated to fix everyone and everything 10 out of 10 times. Yeah, I mean, I think so. I was going to say actually, like men also have a thing that's connected there, which is like I can't like tell any man in my life a problem without him proposing a solution immediately. Like there's almost like this compulsion to like you know, feel like, I think for most men, if a woman is telling you something, that you're expected to fix it like for her. And women, I do maybe think that there's a feminine urge to fix people. Like I was definitely for the longest time had like a savior complex. you know, just anyone who needed you know, anything, I was like, I can and therefore I should. And so yeah,
well, I think there's like two things. It could be when it comes to like emotional stuff, because a lot of men are really bad at understanding their own feelings and expressing them. So if you're like, I would feel like I'm one of those people. That's why I'm kind of like talking about it like online and stuff as well, because I kind of want to help people like open this up, because I think the world would be a better place if a lot of people can be better at opening up emotionally and letting themselves be vulnerable, or know when they shouldn't be or when they should be or whatever, or how to handle other people is great. But I would say like, I think it goes for both men and women. I think it depends a little bit of like yourself as well. So I know I used to know one person that had like a extreme savior complex, right? But he had a lot of issues. So him fixing other people made him feel good about himself because he couldn't fix his own a little bit. So that could be the case as well. So I don't necessarily think it has to be like a feminine thing. It could just be like, I don't want to deal with my stuff, but for me to feel productive, I'm gonna try to focus on everyone else around you. You know, that could be a case as well. And only you would know, right? If you have like tons of issues or not, right? So
yeah, very true. Yeah, so again, almost like men and women are different. Data shows men to be more interested in things and women in people. Yeah, of course, and that's why I think there's a special kind of dynamic in heterosexual relationships, because there's these two energies that can flow together really well. What else? We're going to talk about your art, and we never did. So do you want to
talk about my art? I have a big painting right here, actually, that I'm still like working on.
Can we see?
Yeah, of course. Let me see. You gotta like go back. It's huge, so I have to like.
Oh, that's very pretty.
Let me like pull it back a little bit more, I think.
Yeah. Gorgeous.
It's huge. I've been working this for like a year. This is like one of them. Yeah.
Or do you work in acrylics?
Yes, acrylics.
Is that a real place, or is that like your fantasy home that you're going to build someday?
Hold on. It's like it is kind of like designed as like a childhood memory, but like a little different. It's not like exactly what it is. So I change things to like make it look a little nicer, or like make it more of like an imaginary thing. But it's one of the houses I lived in my childhood. There was a house right in front of it, and I used to watch it from my window every day. So I think last year I was feeling very nostalgic to home, because I was stuck in America for an entire year because I didn't have my green card yet. I was in the process of it. So I missed my family, and I started to like think about the past a lot. So I just wanted to express myself, and that's why I painted that painting. Yeah.
Very nice. And yeah, that's great. So are you selling your work? Is that something that you're looking to do professionally?
I can. It's not really why I do it. I just do it because whenever I feel like a really, really strong feeling, I really need to express it in some sort of way. And sometimes I can't even express like in words what I feel, or there's no one that is like capable of like listening to how I feel, or I can't like feel fulfilled. So usually what I do instead is that I just paint it out, I guess. But no one is really going to understand what like all the things that I'm painting like means or anything. But I can look back on it and just like think, if I look at one spot of the painting, I remember exactly what I was thinking and feeling at the time. Of course I could like sell them, but I feel like that would be a lot of money. And I don't think anyone really in my community is too interested in art or like buying art. Buying art is really expensive. So, I'm just doing it more to express myself more than anything else.
Yeah, you could never charge enough money to like compensate you properly for your time and like care and investment in those pieces.
I probably could, but it would probably be a lot of money because art is really expensive. Like if someone wanted to buy it for a certain price, I'd be like, yeah, go for it, sure. That's it.
Even this is so nostalgic and emotional for you?
No, I don't think I always remember that I painted it and stuff, and it will exist somewhere, but it's usually more in the moment when I'm doing it that I care about. Usually when I put up on the wall, it's kind of like nice to look at it from time to time. But I don't necessarily super care about keeping the paintings for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah. No, I get it. It's more, it means it's more process than product for you.
Yeah, I think so. It's more just me taking some time to like listen to music and like feeling extremely emotional and just like paint it out, I guess is what I do.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a comment. So it's not asking for advice. What a relief. I feel so strange when a person, man or woman, confides in me and I have nothing. I end up questioning why they would tell me because I am as lost as they are. Then my silence already awkward and lasting too long for damage control to have control. I just look like I don't care. Yeah, I think that it's okay to just like listen to people. Sometimes people just need to talk through stuff. Like sometimes people just need to organize their thoughts in the form of like expressing them verbally, and that's just helpful. And just getting stuff out, like just like external.
Instead of like looking for advice. Ooh, that's fully true. You could also like, if someone is looking for advice but you don't know what to say in the moment, you can actually say like, hey, like this is a lot and I'm going to think about this. Can I set a date for like when I can give you an answer to what this is? Kind of, if you want to give advice, of course, because not everyone is like, maybe you're not in the mood or you're not in the mental state to give like really great advice, you know, when someone really wants to talk about it. But it definitely does just feel good to talk about things sometimes and just have someone like asking you questions instead of giving you advice. This is my personal feeling. I don't know if other people experience this as well, but I feel like I usually already know deep down. I'm just not really sure. So usually if someone is asking me questions, it's a lot easier for me to like be guided through my thoughts instead of just getting advice. A lot of advice can be really bad as well. So I don't really like, because my life is so weird and complicated and very, very different from other people. I don't really expect advice from people. I expect more of them just guiding me through my thoughts. That's like usually what I like, you know, or feeling like they're not judgmental or that they can kind of like understand a little bit of what I'm going through is usually what I like. And sometimes I just like I had a conversation with a friend the other day because I was feeling kind of just low. And I said that I just wanted someone to like pep me a little bit, just like whenever I get a negative thought, I want them to just angle it differently to something that I'm already knowing or thinking into like positive. So if I say like, this is really bad that it happened, but if someone is saying, no, but next time you're going to do it better. Like just because this happened to you, you're going to make it even better next time. Or you know now that this is a problem that you can work on. Like I need someone to pep me and motivate me to like keep going instead of like sitting and like dwelling on things over and over again. So that's a way to do it too. Or just saying that this is not a big deal. Like this is perfectly normal for you to feel. That can be a really nice thing to hear as well. And just be like, you're just being like silly right now in your emotions. In a few hours, you're going to see this as just like, that was a thing that happened. It's perfectly fair for it to happen. Now we have a problem to work on, and it's going to be very exciting to do so. Like that sort of mentality is a lot nicer, in my opinion. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it's completely. And a good friend will do that. I think we'll see you. We'll take the time to like make space for all of your thoughts. You know, like I'll have sometimes conversations with friends and it'll be like wrong answers only, right? Like I'll ask a series of questions about what I should do. And I actually don't want their like real advice. I want the most ridiculous, like, you know, kind of like you should like, you should just like burn everything down and move back to Europe. You know, like I want like the most extreme thing. But like I also think that failure is very important. So I try to encourage friends when they're experiencing some kind of failure. That's the most important experiential learning is when you fail. And then to take it back to the lifting analogy, if you're not taking at least some of your sets to failure, you're actually not growing in the maximal way, right? Like you have to experience like the failure of like, you know, a deadlift or whatever to really know that you've taken it all the way. Because the signals, I think our brains can sometimes signal us like, oh, this is bad, this is dangerous, like you shouldn't take this further. But then you don't ever experience that failure. You never experience the true like end of your capacities or that boundary. But it's important to know.
I think it takes a lot to fail and like be okay with it. That's a big thing to do to yourself, and I see that as very brave. I'm very proud of people that failed and that are okay with it and that can keep going and just know like, yep, I failed all the things that I ever believed, and that's okay. And I'm now know a lot more than what that was, you know, for sure. And especially like nowadays, the internet does not give us space to fail at all. Like whenever you fail, you get like the most horrendous comments. Like people are not okay with people failing. And I understand why that's like a huge pressure on people. I wish the internet would be more okay. I think if people could like with confidence say that they failed, if we can kind of like normalize that, I think that's something that the world really, really needs. But it's also really hard because you're going to get a lot of people like really like fucking with you, even though we all fucking fail all the time, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, those people who are saying those things on the internet, like, who the fuck are they anyway? Like, what do you mean? Are you perfect all the time? Like,
I try to think about it that way too. I don't really personally care about internet hate much. So whenever I'm like going on these shows and there's like really insane comments, usually I'm just like, this person is sitting here like typing that out. I don't even know who the fuck they are. Like, how did they even get the time like to be here? Did they not have anything better to do? I think it says a lot about them already, and it's just like, it's just a little funny to me. And if I can like show them like that I don't really care, that there's better things to think about and there's better things to do than just sitting here like hating on people for doing whatever. Yeah, the world is hard. The world is hard, especially with the internet. Also to the fact that we can't you can be completely anonymous online, so of course you can like say a bunch of things, but always remember, when there's hate comments, they would most likely never say that in real life, because it's really hard to say really mean things to someone's face. It's very, very hard to do so, for sure. Yeah,
and I mean, I think also there's the phenomenon of like, if you're shining very brightly, people are definitely triggered by that, like are definitely
for sure.
yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I just try to like, whenever I see like really hateful people that are like very like angry and they're very emotional and they have so many opinions and they hate what you're saying and they don't really even have arguments, they're just like giving you like really mean comments for no reason, no arguments against my stuff, they're not like interested in, you know, debating anything like that. I kind of just see it as like, okay, these are like children, like they're just children and they really need someone to like be playful with them. So that's usually how I just handle talking to people like that. It's just like, okay, these people are just like really in need of attention and they just really want to feel like a little better kind of by being mean and like get a reaction. Usually just play back with them and then they kind of sit down, like they kind of like, oh, okay, you know. Like if you just take control over it.
Yeah, that's, I like that kind of like lighthearted engagement. I'm a big fan of you know, strong opinions lightly held, like loosely held. You know, if you're like really gripping on to any position, like really, really you know, like white knuckling something, then that's probably, there's more there than just you know, then that goes into like the realm of like religious fervor or ideology, and then probably it's not there's no point in debating it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, yeah,
if it gets too serious or it gets too aggressive and all. I think like the best way to change people's minds is like through time. Like I think you need to like remind them or like give them like very harmless little inputs that can be playful and like happy changes, but it's going to take a while. I think humor is really, really good. I think like if you can make really funny videos about some absurd ideas, I think it's going to change people's minds a lot more, because people are laughing and then they're seeing a different perspective. And it's just so much more fun. I love humor and mixed with politics, mixed with arguments. And I think that's a lot of fun. Like just playful stuff makes people a lot more open-minded than just being very, very serious. And this is like serious mode. I'm going to argue against this. And this person has to be wrong because they're so serious and I hate what they're saying, you know? If it's playful and it's a lot of comedy into it, it's a lot easier to communicate with people, for sure.
Completely. Okay, we had a caller, but they dropped out. Oh well. Call back. Okay, so there's another comment. I really think there is something I need to convince these two ladies of. I wonder what it is. The COVID is a conspiracy to acquire more legroom at NASCAR events.
Wait, I don't understand. Did they just want to talk about COVID?
I don't think that this is like anything that makes sense.
Oh, I see. It's just the schizophrenic comments that's here. Like, I don't have something to say right now, and I'm just going to come up with something because I don't like how they're talking about this.
Yeah. We're probably agreeing too much. Should we find something to disagree about?
Yeah. Well, like, honestly, it's very nice because I've been disagreeing with people so much. It's a little refreshing to be able to speak about things like in a very fun way. So yeah.
No, I'm just very glad. I'm just very glad that you're out there. I don't find any reason to try to like suppress you or shame you or I don't know. I'm not sure why.
Yeah.
Particularly you had an interview with a woman who was really trying to dig into you in a way that I thought was quite ugly, and
yeah.
I don't know. But that kind of tracks with my own experience. Sometimes it's women who tend to want to I don't know, some kind of like corrective, like, oh no, we're, women aren't supposed to be out there like having opinions or whatever. It's like a weird dynamic, but
if I'm going to judge like the way she is, I think it's just like she probably has I'm gonna guess she probably has a lot of problems like in her personal life. That's why she's just projecting so much onto me. That seems pretty happy. I don't think she really likes my partner and what he's been saying. So I think when she invited me on, I think that she was thinking that I would be some sort of submissive, easy person to push into basically win an argument against my partner. I think that's what she was thinking. Because she, when I got the invite, they said it was an interview and not a debate. And then it was 100% a debate about my personal life. So I was like, damn, but I'm happy because I wasn't ever thinking about going on shows like this until now, because I was thinking that my language wouldn't be good enough, or I wouldn't be able to understand or argue against them very well. But I felt like I did pretty good in that conversation with her. So I was like, wait, this is a lot of fun. I think I want to come out and like speak about it. And I think I'm a pretty good person to do so, because I don't really take a lot of hate, and I'm a pretty happy person. And I think it's interesting to try to understand other people and why they're thinking the things that they're doing. So now it's just a lot of fun for me. So I'm just taking a lot more opportunities to do things,
Yeah, no, that's great. I think you handled it incredibly. Like it just made her look very petty and
condescending.
It was a bad look for her. It really was. Like I don't know.
Yeah. I wonder if she will ever have me on again. I had fun with it, but it was definitely interesting. For me, it really is just like, I think if I was maybe born in the US, it would be harder for me, as we said before. But just because I'm from a culture where if she was in Sweden, we would all think that she's crazy. So I already am like, I have so many layers of just like, this is who I am, that it's going to be really hard for me to ever feel insecure, like about anything I'm saying or feeling. It's just way too deep in me. So there's just no way. And especially as someone that's like, I'm perfectly okay with whatever lifestyle you want to live, as long as you're not hurting anyone else. I think you can do pretty much whatever you want. So I'm not even going against what she's saying, Of course, I'm going to argue against a mindset. Like, I don't think that women are like children. That's an example. I don't think that's true. But they always want to imply that it is. So I'll argue against that. But like, if you want to live as some sort of submissive wife and that makes you happy, you go for it. Like, if it works out for you, But I hope that these people can be okay with maybe failing, because there's a lot of people that are very conservative that goes into this sort of lifestyle, and then they realize that this is absolutely not what they wanted, and the only thing that they've ever been following for their entire life is just like, this is the goal, this is like how it's supposed to be, but they've never actually lived that lifestyle until when they do, and then they realize that this is not for them at all. But it's really hard to back off when you believe that your entire life. You feel really lost,
Completely, because it's such a maximalist, like not just argument, but like a lifestyle. It's like, it's just complete, like it's all encompassing, and it like requires, I think for both men and women, that like that super traditionalism required, it's like a complete suppression of the real self. Like you're just playing a role, whether a man or woman. Mm-hmm. Travis wrote, "Simping for traditionalist men." I did get the feeling there that she was trying to basically, like, I guess, sort of demonstrate to her audience, like, that she's like willing to deal with this, upstart young woman in like a certain way,
But it just feels really silly to me, because she's basically, what she's doing is like everything that she speaks against. When she's having this show and she's being this like dominant with the people that comes on, it actually is just the opposite of what she's saying. And then she says like, when I come home, I'm a different person. But like, you're sitting here in a studio. You could have not, like, if this was 100 years ago, you would not be doing this. Like, there's just no way that anyone would ever let you do it. And it just, that feels a little crazy to me, that like a lot of these like really conservative women that I've seen are probably like the most feminist I've seen also, because they're doing all the things that's like so cool and so powerful. And then they're always just downplaying women that they can't do these things, but they absolutely can. It's it's very confusing to me, I guess.
100%. I always want to say to these like really like super anti-feminist women, like, okay, but then like, so give up your vehicle, give up your bank account, give up, you know, any rights you have,
your
like
passions, anything.
Yeah, you better shut the fuck up too. You better stop speaking in public. Like, you better go to your man and ask him what to think and what to say and how to vote, and like stop voting actually too, you know, like stop wearing pants.
It kind of just makes me feel like there has to be so many lies of how they're living. I think they're just, I feel like they might have like thought this way for a very long time, and they really, as I said before, they built up this image and also like public image, and they're making a lot of money. There's just no way they're ever going to give it up. But also the way they speak about tradition, all these things, is what gives them money and like gets them attention. So they just keep doing that, but they're not living by it at all. And deep down, if you had a really honest conversation with them, if they took like the honest pill, I feel like they would all just say like, yeah, I know that this is not really, you know, it's a great idea, but it's not for everyone, and it might not even be for me, you know. But I feel like they're so stuck in the things that they need to say. It would be so cool to see one of these conservative people like just admit that, like, yes, I thought all these things when I was younger, but now that I've grown up and I've had more life experience, I think that there's a lot more gray areas to the way of living here, and it's not just like black and white, this is how it is. Because none of these relationships or none of the things that they're talking about is any sort of relationship advice. It's just like an image, but there's no like real, you know, advice like how to have a conversation, how to communicate, what to do when you feel this way. Like there's none of that conversational. It's all just like painting a picture of what everyone's character is, you know, and not actually like digging into like how do you talk to your wife about a problem, how do you do these things. There's none of that at all.
Yeah. It's completely, I think it's very fake. And I think it's sort of like, do as I say, not as I do, clearly, right? Yeah. And I totally agree that some of them are the most feminist, like, you know, public figures ever, actually, like in practice, right? Like, but you're saying.
It's so funny because like, I feel like most of the women that I've seen online, like the most feminist of them all, like that live by like a very feminist way, are actually like the conservative women, because they're so harsh and they're very, very, very dominant. Like they're extremely dominant, and they're going like online or they're going places and they're being so powerful, almost like a man. It's crazy. I don't really see that. Like I don't see as much of that anywhere else, if I'm going to be completely honest. It doesn't seem like it to me. Yeah.
There's a comment from Dana Dallier. The conservative women who preach about not needing feminism wouldn't be given a platform to preach about without feminism.
If feminism wouldn't be the case, they probably wouldn't really be where they are. Or yes and no. Like probably a big reason to why these women are speaking is because of feminism, of like they want to have a woman speak about these things because it is a woman, which can be kind of crazy and like terrifying, because they would probably never really know if they would probably really never know if they're there for themselves, like because of who they are, or if they're there because they're a woman, right? It's always good for any sort of show to have some sort of female representative, right? It's always a really, really good thing that everyone wants. No matter if you're on the right or the left, it seems like it's a nice thing that, you know.
yeah, of course. Do you consider yourself conservative, liberal? Do you have like a political stance that you
I'm pretty liberal.
Liberal?
Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty liberal. I'm pretty in the middle, like center, I'd say. There's some things that the left are saying. I feel like a lot of people get very. That's like the sad thing. Whenever I meet someone that's like, I'm more of a lefty, but there's some things that I think the conservatives are right about. Like, let's say that you're more left, but you don't think that you should ban guns in America, which is like all the leftists would just wants to ban it because that's their ideology, right? I think that's a lot cooler when you can meet someone who's kind of nuanced and has seen like a lot of problems, and then they're just coming up with their own thing from what they've seen works better. So that's probably what I would say, is that I have like some more, I guess, like conservative thoughts, but then I have a lot of left more, you know, thoughts, whatever. But I feel like I'm very, very in the middle. Like I think you should be able to like do whatever you want with your body, do whatever you want. I'm very like open and liberal when it comes to substances and like the war on drugs. I'm very open that way. I think I don't think you can like control a lot of stuff that people wants to do to themselves, for example.
Yeah, I think a lot of Americans would maybe consider that more libertarian. Yeah, and for myself, I don't declare myself for any party. I think it's all bullshit. So I just say I'm non-aligned. You know?
Yeah, there's always something that you're like, this is some dumb shit, right? I think it's really funny right now to see a bunch of like conservative women go against the red pills. I think that's the funniest thing in the world, because like the conservative women are, I would say, like a lot smarter. Like their dream is to be like the housewife, but they're thinking like what the red pills are saying is so fucking ridiculous. Like it's so stupid. They know that there's a lot more layers to that. You know, it's just really funny to me that they're going against the red pill as well. Mm-hmm.
I think like especially the kind of like neo-Muslims or like Westoid like pseudo-Muslim red pill men are like, to me, the most incomprehensible. Like you are not, absolutely not that, you know, like if you think that, anyway, I digress. Because
well, I feel like I don't really know like any red pill person that is actually following like the conservativeness by the book. It's like always, it's like, how can they get the most, like in the most selfish way out of everything? So they're not even like, they're saying that they're religious, but they haven't even read the Bible or the Quran or whatever. Like they just don't follow any of it. They're just trying to find like loophole, you know, like they're trying to find ways to get things that they want in the moment, but they actually don't really believe in anything. They're just being very selfish, and they kind of want to just paint up the world the way they want it, and they kind of want people to just follow it. It's very, very strange.
Yeah. And they think they want a patriarchy, like they think that they are patriarchs. Mm-hmm. But the fact, like, I mean, I was raised by a patriarch, like a pater familias, like an incredibly capable, very loving man who directed my growth in a beautiful way, and was, you know, the best father, and you know, had demonstrated a beautiful relationship with my mom. And so like that to me is a patriarch, right? Is someone who takes responsibility for the people who he's like brought into this life, and someone who is capable of being loving and providing. So like these pissant little fucking man boys who want patriarchal, like who want all of the patriarchal goodies, you know, who want all of the privileges without any of the responsibilities.
Yeah.
To me, that is just a child playing in his own fucking shitty diaper. That's not a patriarch.
It feels very, very like I think the Rolo guy, what's his name? The last name of him again? Yeah, whatever. He was, I think he was tweeting something the other day that he thinks that like that men shouldn't have children or something like that. They shouldn't reproduce.
Right.
There's just like so much dumb stuff that's like, this is so extreme and so crazy. And I don't know. I don't even think they're really like thinking through what they're saying. I don't even know what it is, because usually what it seems to me as well is like this guy is like the godfather of red pill, but he's been in a monogamous relationship with his wife for like 30 years. And he doesn't live any of it that he's speaking about. He's been writing books, and he's not following any of it, which feels crazy. And the way that he argues and debates with these people is absolutely ridiculous. Like he's losing all of it. He just looks like a joke. And I don't understand how it's so confusing to me that like you can be writing books and you could have like an audience, you know, but you can't even answer like what a high value man is to you in your eyes. Like he couldn't even answer that. He like, they would probably believe that Ben Shapiro is probably a high value man because he has a family, he's conservative, he's religious, he makes a lot of money, he has like a good image, like persona, you know, but they say no, that he's not. It's just, how isn't this exactly how he's, and they can't answer. They have no idea what they're talking about. It's crazy.
Probably because he's not a pimp like the Tate brothers, you know, probably because he doesn't, like, you know, relate to women as though they're literal objects and property, and just a collection of fuckholes, which is to me the most degraded and degenerate ideology that's currently, you know, making the rounds.
I think it's because they're really terrified of women. There has to be something that happened to them that just really makes them want to put women in that category. Because like if you've ever talked to a woman, like I feel like they just need to talk to women a little bit more And I think there should be a mix of like boys and girls hanging out in school from like early age on, because the more female friends you have when you're really young, the more you will understand that there's not much difference, and you can have friends that's the opposite sex. I think that's really important. But it feels like these people have either been very isolated or they haven't really trained how to talk to women. So they built them up as this like alien thing that they don't understand, even though we're extremely similar, or they've been really unlucky or something like that. And they probably have a lot of emotions that they haven't been able to express. And they just turn into this like really angry thing that just wants to like put women in categories, because they really feel the need of doing it because they're so upset about it. Yeah, it's easier to just judge women that way, right? Because you must hate them so much that you just want to say, oh, but they're dumb, they're stupid. It's a lot easier to just think about it that way.
Yeah, totally wild thought, but like maybe women are people, like maybe.
Yes, yeah. No, they really don't believe that. They're just.
I know.
This is not biology or whatever. For me, it's like I think it's pretty equal. I think women are better at certain things than men are, and I think men are better at certain things, But I think it's all just from like how we've been trained through society. So I do believe that most women are probably a little bit more emotionally intelligent because they practice like how to think and how to express feelings more than men has, because we've had space in society to do so. But I think it makes it a lot easier for us to understand emotions and like understand men. And I think we would have an easier time to manipulate men if we really wanted to. I think we could like ask the wife, how they usually like say back in the day. I don't know if you guys, if you've ever seen The Wall by Pink Floyd, the movie, or listened to the album, whatever. But there's like this character that's the mother that's in control of the son, and then there's the I guess the wife of the teacher that's really like dominant and abusive to students, but at home he's being the one abused by the woman mentally.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is a thing that happens quite a bit as well. I think women can be very emotionally intelligent, and I think we can control a lot more than men do because we have a lot more practice in feelings and emotions and how to talk, than men do.
Yeah, I think that comes both from socialization and probably like like estrogen based beings. I think are different. I've known quite a few women in bodybuilding who experience virilization through the use of performance enhancing drugs, like anabolic compounds. Like basically were on cycles of testosterone in some cases, and described like a complete like change psychologically, like in terms of their orientation towards the people around them. So I wonder if like there is like, well, I'm pretty sure that it's like both hormonal and sort of like neurological and like socialization.
We might be a lot more up and down. Like even if you're about to have your period, like I changed personality almost completely. So I think like having just practicing and like trying to control and like stabilizing or like understanding your emotions when you have so many up and downs and stuff is probably really good practice that it makes us probably handle things a lot better than men would if they felt like the extreme emotions, change and stuff like that. I think that absolutely could be the case. Or I don't know, like I guess like taking drugs or even just like taking birth control can sometimes like stabilize you, and it almost makes you feel like, oh, this is like what it's like to be a guy, because I do not feel up and down at all. Like I'm just like so much more stable. But I guess like just because we get a lot more push like emotionally like that, like in our heads, we might be better at handling emotions and like understanding other people as well, because we've been pushed that direction. It could absolutely be the case, but of course it depends from person to person. There might be a guy that feels a lot higher emotions than some woman, right? It depends on like how we're born, but it could absolutely be the case that just because of the little bit of like the biology difference. But I think most of it comes from society. I think like just the pressure of how we are and how we get raised and stuff probably has a lot to do more with it, than anything else. Yeah.
Okay, we can take some callers because we have callers again.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay, Nivek, go ahead and ask your question.
Was there anyone here? Oh.
Hello. Yeah, I think that's a good point that you aimed at about how conservative women come off so hard and aggressive, almost more than the conservative men themselves, and not come off soft and submissive.
Mm-hmm.
in a way that the men want. I think that's kind of interesting, and I think it says a lot why they're like that. It's almost as like they want to be the men, and they envy that, and the way that they come across, it's exactly the traits that conservative men value in being hard and aggressive, in where they're walking contradicting. I thought that was a brilliant point that you made.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Um,
it's cool.
one thing, some folks see women are to be soft and submissive, and men are to be hard and aggressive. What makes a strong, empowered man and woman gender role? Which current ones you like and dislike, or do you really not believe in gender roles, or that
I think
or should it evolve over time or over the times?
I think people can be whoever they want to be. If they feel like being masculine is a part of their personality and that's like really harsh, I think they're allowed to do so. And if they really like the feminine, they can do that as well. Or if you're a woman and you just want to be, you like being submissive and you like being feminine, I think you're allowed to. I think you can do that. But I think we should allow people to not like be played into those stereotypes, because I would say that there's a lot of people that are trying to force people to be the stereotypes of a man and woman, what they're supposed to be like, right? If that answers your question.
One more question. What current males you admire and women you admire in empowerment? That's it.
Like famous people that I admire. That's like role models.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be like this, like an amazing person. It could just be like a general.
I think like the one person that I do look up to a lot is probably Audrey Hepburn. I think she's a very cool person. She's not alive anymore, right? But she did a lot of really, really cool stuff, and I think she went through a life that was really harsh. But I think she always showed a lot of kindness to everyone around her, and I think that's something that everyone should look up to a lot more. And I think a lot of people should try to reach kindness and understanding instead of turning things to selfish, like needs, or showing a lot of hate for people that ever hurt her. There was a lot of people in her life that hurt her, and she took that and just showed a ton of love to the world. And I think that's something to look up to. I think it's very beautiful.
Oh, cool. And a man, and why?
I'm not sure if there's any men to look up to. Cool. I need to think about that. There's no one that comes to my mind that I think is like, yeah, I don't know. I don't think there is anyone that I super, super, super look up to. I need to think about that more, I think. I was a huge fan of a male actor called Robert Carlyle when I was younger, because I thought he was a very cool person. But I'm not sure if I look at his stuff much anymore, but I thought he was a cool person as he was at the time when I was looking at his stuff. But otherwise, I think Audrey is a very, very cool person. And I've looked into a lot of stuff that she's been doing, which wasn't just acting. She did a lot of acting stuff, but she did a lot of help for children around the world, and with UNICEF and stuff. She has like spoken out about like all of the relationships that she's ever had. She was helping out people when she was a kid in World War II. I think she's a pretty cool person, and she went through a lot of stuff, and she still came out being a very, very loving human being.
That male again, I want to look him up.
Who?
The male again.
Robert Carlyle?
You broke up, say again?
Oh, like Audrey Hepburn or Robert Carlyle?
Robert Carlyle. Okay, thank you.
He was just an actor that I really liked when I was younger, but I think he was a pretty cool person. When he speaks, I don't know. I think he's cool. I thought he did a lot of really cool work, and he took a lot of different roles in different movies. He never took like a really, really big role ever. I don't know if you ever gotten those, but he did a lot of different stuff, and definitely like roles that was very like extreme, I guess, that I don't think most men would want to take. Maybe. Oh. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like maybe there's some admiration for Jordan Peterson too, hey?
Which ones? For
For you referenced Jordan Peterson earlier, and I wonder if you have some admiration for at least some of his work.
I don't agree on like most things that he's saying, but I do think when he talks about discipline and when he talks about like doing the small things to get to where you want to be, like cleaning your room and like having your, if you want to have your head organized, you need to have an organized like life. So you want to organize your room, you want to organize your house, you want to have healthy relationships. Like if you want everything to be working in your head, you need everything around you to be organized as well, right? So I do believe that. There's a lot of things that he's saying that I don't agree with, and I don't really know if he has everything figured out either. Yeah, I think I tend to really like characters that are, I don't know, they're not really like forcing or saying that things are black and white. It's just more of their actions that shows to me that like this person is a very, very warm, loving person. And I think spreading love is the best thing that you can do. And I don't think a lot of people are brave enough to do so today, I guess.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
we have another caller, and go ahead, Aaron. Aaron, you're live. Do you have a question, Aaron? Nope.
No.
Apparently not.
Okay.
Well, good enough. I think we're rounding on 90 minutes, and I didn't want to keep you too much longer than that. But yeah, it occurred to me while we were talking earlier about the way that sometimes men are scared to talk to women. They're like, I kind of am immersed in gym bro culture quite a bit lately, and there's this like meme of like a guy, like a big guy at the gym, and he's like looking at his like programming for the day, and like the next exercise he has to do is like 3 sets of talking to women for 5 minutes
at the gym.
Like, fuck
oh my
no,
goodness.
no.
Yeah.
Legit.
No, I think like practicing, honestly, if I'm gonna give advice, I think just taking the small steps, just like if you're a man and you're really scared of talking to women, I really like just practicing it is really, really good, but don't like put too much pressure on you. So going outside and walking around, go to the beach, go to a park and walk up to someone for a short conversation is going to do really like wonders. Okay. It's going to be really, really good for you to do so. And it doesn't need to be a conversation that's going to lead to anything. I actually would say that you would rather want to make it not lead anywhere so that there's no pressure from you to feel like this needs to go somewhere. I need to go ask this girl on a date. And if I get rejected, it's going to be a horrible thing. I'm so bad, you know? So instead of just like trying to like have a big goal with stuff, just put little small ones. So you want to go up to someone and talk to them for a minute and then try to talk to the next person for 3. If you get rejected, it's not the end of the world. Just go to the next one and just practice that over and over again. And with more practice, you're going to feel a lot more confident. And I think I was a little lucky with this when I was younger because I had some friends that were insane. So we used to go outside and we used to film really stupid little, what do you call it? Like little films for YouTube where we did a bunch of pranks in real life, kind of. So me and my friends, we used to have a camera and then we would show up on the subway and we would start singing really horribly. And it would be like the most shameful thing in the world. And we did this so many times. We did so many different ones. I think one of the things that we did was like we filmed like in the corner somewhere. And then if we were watching like 2 people on a date, and then if one of them left for the bathroom, we would go there and sit down and like pretend like we knew them. Like we would do so much insane stuff where people would be like, what the fuck's going on? But just because we did so many things, it was so easy for us later to have a conversation with someone that we knew or someone that we actually wanted to get to know because we've already practiced the shame of like the most like, you know, like embarrassing, like, who the fuck are you? Get away from here. You know, you're fucking weird. Like we already got that. So it was like, okay, it's a lot easier right now to just do dumb shit or like be rejected because it happens. Like it's life. It's just fun. Nothing really bad is going to happen to you. To engage with someone, people are going to think it's funny, most likely, unless you're being really weird. Like, don't be too weird or anything. And whenever someone like says, leave, I don't want to talk to you, you should just go away, you know? And that's it. Like nothing really crazy is going to happen. But doing those sort of little practices, that's pretty funny, and because it's really fun to remember. We did so much insane stuff, it's crazy, but it was really healthy for me, I think, to do this really dumb videos, and they're still online, like they're still on YouTube. I think I'm gonna go through them on stream pretty soon.
Cute. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, practicing is a great idea, and not being afraid to be ridiculous, you know, and like that's
because we're all ridiculous. We all are, and it's just good to like be the most ridiculous you can, because you don't have to worry about the worst case scenario because it already happened. And you're not gonna die. Nothing really bad is going to happen. It's just like all mental stuff. So you just gotta practice that, you know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And guys, definitely feel free to come up to me at the gym and ask how I got such big delts. You know?
Yeah.
Capped out shoulders. Yeah. No, I mean, I think men are really afraid to take advice from women about muscular development and stuff like that.
But it
leads to some ridiculous interactions.
I wonder how I would feel about it. Like, the only thing I will say is, like, walking up to like flirt with people at the gym, I would say is probably like not the best thing to do. I think you want to like talk to someone for like advice, or say like, wow, that's a lot. Like, that's a lot of lifting. I think like those sort of comments, or like ask them like, oh, so when are you done with this? Can I like do in between or something? Is like cool. But I think I would say still like, it's really, it might be really strange for men to walk up to women at the gym, because usually we're like, have headphones, we're very like focused, and we do not want to have some dude that's like staring at us while we're like bending over or anything like that. So if you gotta talk with people at the gym, try to make it as friendly as possible, I would say. And don't like try to talk with women for the sake of like trying to like date them or like mess around with them or anything. But otherwise, like when it comes to like gym culture or like supporting each other, I think it's really cool. But just don't overstep the flirting thing, because that can get really weird really quick, I think. Not anywhere else. Like, you can go to like the park, you can like go out and do other, like at other places, or like at the bar, or where people are supposed to be social. But at the gym, where it's like you meet each other like maybe every single day because you go there, and then you feel like you don't want to meet someone because they start flirting with you or ask you for your number, it's probably not the best thing. You probably want to build up like a friendship at the gym before you do that, you know. Just a reminder.
Good point. Aaron's back. We'll try and take his call.
Oh, cool.
Aaron, are you able to talk now?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I'm driving in the middle of buttfuck nowhere, Oregon.
So
there's just areas where I don't have any internet. So I want to defend the quote-unquote manosphere for a second, if you'll indulge me. Now, I've been watching manosphere videos for about 4 years now, and I have noticed that it seems like a lot of these quote-unquote red-pilled men are just salty crybabies that had bad experiences with women, and now they've generalized that all women are terrible, and they want to try to spread that misery to other men. And I've been able to recognize those voices pretty easily and avoid them. But I do think there are some reasonable voices in the red pill male community, and I consider the manosphere to be a tool, just like how there are women who will warn other women about what can go wrong when a woman becomes that emotionally invested in a man. I think that the more reasonable voices in the manosphere are doing that for me. And just to give you a little bit of context, when you say that nothing will go wrong when you put yourself out there, I 100% disagree with that, and I stand as proof of what can happen, because I was rejected my entire childhood, and I was physically assaulted for it as a result. So things can absolutely go very wrong. But because of that, I think that what the manosphere has taught me is not to hate women, not to avoid women, obviously, but what it has taught me is that you just need to be careful about where you put that kind of emotional investment. It's one thing when they're friends. It's another thing when you're actually trying to get intimate with someone on that level. And I think that it's taught me that learning all of these stories about all of these things that have gone wrong for men in the past when it comes to women has taught me that you just need to exercise a little bit of caution as to who you put that type of emotional investment in. I don't see anything wrong with that, but I'd like to know what you think.
I have no idea how you used to engage with people or how you used to engage with women at the time. but I don't think that a lot of things can go wrong. If you go to like a public place, like a park, and you walk up to a group of people, or you walk up to a girl or anything, to just like talk about the weather for like 30 seconds, I don't think there's any like huge harm, and I don't think that there's like anything that you should think about that can go wrong for you to not do it. I think it's a pretty healthy thing. Of course, there's going to be situations where it's like, if you say something like that's really, really pushy, there might be a really bad reaction to it, or you might be rejected if you like start flirting. Or you might be like, something might happen if you're like in a dark area with someone that might be really sketchy. Like, but I think that you could probably judge from like what kind of situation, like where it's okay to say what. And I do think that like, you don't necessarily have to flirt with every single person you're talking to or try to imply that you want to have sex with them or anything like that. I think that you can like, with a very chill way, not show too much, but it depends on like, I don't really know how you have been interacting with women in the past. I don't know if there's something you want to say about like, or, you know, because if I walked up to someone and I said, oh yeah, I really like your pants, that's probably like not the best thing to do. Or say like, hey, do you really want to go on a date with me? I really want to go on a date with you. That's like very aggressive, and it's gonna feel like for the woman that there's like no way out, either just being awkward or just like, ooh, like I don't really want to do this. So of course it depends on how you want to talk to someone. If you give them a lot of lead way out of the conversation, or like a lead way to like give another answer that doesn't necessarily need to be, you know, that they need to date you or go on a date with you, it's going to be a lot easier to have a conversation that way. But I think a lot of issues with how men communicate with women right now is that they're trying to trap women to a certain answer that they want, and that's why things gets really awkward, and that can be really harmful for you if you get rejected that many times, because you don't really know how to give them a lead way to not go the route that you really want to go. It's kind of like if you're trying to trap a bird, you know, and you try to hold it, and it's going to want to fly away. But if you feel like they have the opportunity to take different paths here, actually, most likely, they're probably going to take the route where they feel like they actually are interested and want to talk to you, because you are not trying to trap them. You're just trying to like their way of thinking or what they want is really important, and they feel like it is important. And I think that's the way to go when you want to talk to people. Don't trap them. Try to give them a way out of it, and be cool with it. Like don't be like pushy or weird or aggressive with it or anything. But I don't really know how you interacted with women in the past. So
well, I just want to make it clear, you know, just for the record, when I say I've been physically assaulted, that's not coming from me being overly pushy with women. Over the course of my life, I can count the interactions that I've had with women on one hand. I'm specifically referring to, as a child, you know, being different from everybody around me, and not only them rejecting me and not wanting to engage any further with me, but viewing me as a target and someone that they can take all of their anguish and their anger out on. And you know, I just so happen to be at the butt end of that. That's what I'm referring to. Because the thing is, I believe in subtlety. I don't believe in making it obvious, especially to a woman, that you want to date her. I believe that absolutely friendship is the best route to go. And, you know, well, I don't really like the idea of flirting. That's just not my personal preference. I know how to talk to women. That's never a problem I've had. It's just that, especially with all of the things that I know about the ways that women can emotionally manipulate a man, and all of the things that can go wrong when a man gets emotionally invested in a woman, in the same way as the reverse. I've just learned that I think the manosphere has just taught me that you just got to be careful. You just don't go being vulnerable to anybody and everybody. Just don't do that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
So we're not talking about like when you meet someone for the first time. We're talking about a relationship that someone can take advantage of you. So it's more about that than just like talking to new people, right?
Well, it's both, because the thing that I've learned over the course of my life is it doesn't matter what your intentions are or what you're trying to get out of people. If they want to find ways to manipulate you.
Yeah, sure. But I don't think that like if you go to a volleyball like place where there's a bunch of people in public, I don't think there's going to be a super, super high risk of someone taking advantage over you. It sounds like to me when you're talking about this, it's like a really, really rare thing to happen. And just because of that rare thing doesn't mean that you should never try to talk to someone, ever. I don't think that's healthy advice to give. Because I don't really see it like being that's like extremely rare case. I think it's more likely that you could start dating someone and they might change, or you start seeing that they're a lot different than you thought they would be, and they're actually taking advantage over you. That's a different thing. But still, just because you might be in a relationship where they could take advantage of you because you're vulnerable doesn't mean that you should just completely stop looking for this, right? I think you should still go for it, but you need to recognize the other person's behavior, which I think you can also learn. And I don't think just because there are risks in life, you shouldn't try to it shouldn't stop you from doing things that you want or that you feel like your goals are in life.
I think it's also okay to be alone. Like, I think it's very much okay to prioritize yourself and do some work on your traumas, and figure out who you are and what you want coming into a relationship, or not. Like, just build that relationship with yourself first. I think that's completely okay.
Yeah. No, yeah, I think so, for sure. But let's say that you really want to have a relationship, that you know what you want. I don't think that just because there might be things that turn out differently or things might end up bad, I don't think that means that you should just stop like doing any process of like what your goals are at all. I think that's just kind of life, is that sometimes you fail and sometimes you don't. Sometimes bad things happen. And of course you want to avoid like really, really harmful things to happen, like being taken advantage of. But that's why, of course, you should be cautious, especially when you get to know someone. You shouldn't just open up to someone that you just met. I don't think that's very good at all, because you shouldn't trust people until a certain amount of time, because people are strangers and people are crazy. There's a lot of people that are very selfish. But I think you should be able to trust your instinct and give a lot of time to see signs, and definitely like see how people act in situations, because they might have only been showing their best side to you, right? And then a year later, something comes up where it's like something really dramatic happens, and they're acting completely different from what you thought or what they've been saying. So you probably need to see them in situations to really get to know who they are at first before you can like start being really vulnerable with someone. Of course, I do believe that. I don't think you should just like dive into something really quick and start opening up. I don't think that's healthy either.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I mean, I think sometimes people come to relationships with a lot of prior experience. It sounds like Aaron had some really like some traumatic things, and I think that's important to acknowledge. And maybe timing is important there, like for when you kind of open up, like, hey, I had an incredibly traumatic childhood, and like some of my reactions are informed by that rather than like me dealing directly with you in this, like, do you ever find that where you're dealing with some issue with a partner or with even a friend, and you can see that it's not necessarily you that they're reacting to, that they're like going back to some earlier time or some other.
Sure. Oh yeah, absolutely. I think there's I think there's a lot of people that have a lot of baggage, for sure. And I think something traumatic has probably happened to almost every single human being. And it is probably affecting like the choices that we're making later on in life or whatever. And there's some things that we're not even really aware of. Like we haven't ever, explored the things that we feel about things that happened to us as children, or we might not even remember, but like our body still remembers. And like whenever something happens, that's might not be the biggest thing in the world. Let's say they have a fight. Let's say that you have a lot of abandonment issues, and then you have a fight, and you think that your partner is going to break up with you right away, even though it's just an argument. But just because of things that happened in your past, where people left you whenever you had a problem, like things can get a lot worse. But I think just like recognizing those things, maybe talking to a therapist, having your partner recognize that everyone has some dumb shit, and it doesn't mean that the person even know that they do, because they just think that their reactions are the normal. This is reality. They have never really seen anyone else, like they've always thought that everyone else has the same experience as me and feel the same way. That's absolutely not true. So I think like, of course, like that is the case. And I think that's why relationships are so hard sometimes, is because we have things that we need to work on with ourselves, of course. But it doesn't mean that I think you should be single or just alone until you figure those things out. I think you can figure those things out while you have a partner. I think even your partner can help you out. That's why couples therapy is really good if it's really, really bad, or just paying attention, and try to learn a lot more about emotions and psychology, I think is really, really good. And yeah, that's what I would say about that, I guess.
Yeah, for me, the most important thing to have in place before entering a relationship is some process of self-analysis and some insight about one's own behaviors. Because if you're just really like completely deluded or just like, suppressing everything all of the time, it's highly unlikely. Like probably what will be interacting in that relationship is just your traumas versus their traumas.
Exactly. That's not the best thing ever, for sure not. Yeah, I think therapy for almost anyone is really good, because you might actually not know that there are some problems that you do have. Especially, let's say that like I can like take my relationship as an example. Like there's an age difference of like 10 years. I think I went through a lot of stuff in my childhood where I felt like I was being abandoned. So I remember like when I started dating him for the first time, whenever we would have an argument, I would get really scared of like being like, I'm too much right now. This is not good or whatever. Well, he's like, well, I already had so many relationships. This is not the end of the world, even though it feels that way. And maybe he's having problems like talking about things, because he's never really had to talk to anyone about anything that he feels, so he doesn't even know how to have a healthy, good conversation and try to like communicate. He's really bad at communicating. And then I feel like I can't communicate with him, and I feel like he's going to leave me because he's not talking. Those are like things that like, there's like two traumas here, right? Or like there's two things that we went through as children, right? And then when it comes together, it's just like not the best match. But then when you realize that, you recognize it's like, okay, like we understand that both of us need to like work on two things here, and if we do, which is very it's beneficial to him and to me as humans as well, when we start working on those things, then I think it's good, because there's a lot of love there. There's a lot of really good things, but not everyone is perfect, and we all need to work on ourselves, of course. But it doesn't mean that like the relationship is over, or that we can never find love ever because we're having these problems. I think it's probably really good to work those things out, because I think that love is really important, and I think we all are looking for someone to have company, with for the rest of your lives. I think that's really important. Yeah,
you speak very well on relationships. This is something that I like this for you. Maybe like going forward, you should probably talk more
about stuff like this.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a caller, Brady, who wants to ask us some questions.
What's up, ladies? I'm picking up a disturbance from the manosphere. I feel like a lot of pain and angst and anxiety coming from the manosphere. And I have one solution that I think might be effective for everybody, but I don't know. I want to know what y'all think. And that would be the whole child support system. Like, what do you think if we were to replace child support with just a general child support for everyone, where it's like, it doesn't matter how rich your husband was, you're just getting an X amount from the government, and it's coming from all of our taxes, not just like one man who got the girl pregnant. Because what if your husband dies? What about women who have a husband that dies somehow? It's like, well, no child support for you. I feel like that's just like, that's not cool.
Wait. So the assumption here is that a lot of the issues that manosphere pundits have with women comes from like having to pay child support.
I noticed a lot. There's there's a parallel between the pain of the manosphere and the pain that men who are paying child support for a woman who no longer loves him. We've heard the same story 1,000 times. And so I notice a parallel between the manosphere and a lot of single dads. Single parent.
I'm not sure if if I'm going to be honest, I'm not sure if I understand or if I just don't know much about the subject. I can't really tell which one it is.
I think Brady wants like a social democracy style, like public support for families than like even Finland has, say, where like
you want like the government to give out money to anyone. to everyone.
For babies, so that men don't have to, because they might feel some kind of way about.
So you mean that basically instead of like men paying child support, it should come from the government instead of like the man itself? Is that what you mean?
From everyone.
From everyone.
And as far as like, if you have a rich husband. To give a little context for it, y'all were talking about transactional relationships versus kind of like romantic relationships.
I don't even know like
and how important honesty is in either one of those relationships. And I feel like if we were just to come out and be like,
I don't think it is. So it's hard for me to like answer because I don't think it's really like that, to have a baby with me. I haven't really thought about it too much.
That would be a more honest and like healthy relationship than a lot of these kind of weird psychological, I don't know, eddies we get into. Just one.
Basically like contracts. I mean, you can have that arrangement in the form of a prenup if you like. You can arrange yourself in whatever way that you like in the form of a legal contract. Like that's possible all over the West. So I don't know if this is too, revolutionary. I also agree that like a fund for children would be great, for those that is necessary, but not as a way out for men who have made children that they're unwilling to continue to support. Like I'm just for like whatever's once children are in the picture, once you brought children into the world, whatever's best for that child. I don't give a fuck how anyone feels about having to pay for that, like if no, sorry, like you've made your decision, you've made a new life, you are responsible for it.
Do you view it as like whenever you bring a child into the world and you don't want to take care of it, like is it always going to be like on the mother to take care of the child? I think, is it more like America? Because I see a lot of like men that even not like allowed to see their children, or that they don't want to. I can't really tell which one it is, because I feel like in Sweden, it's like pretty equal. Like you can decide what you want to do, but it's very like you do the co-parenting thing where it's like 1 week here, 1 week there. Like the parents can decide, but usually it's not like the mother owns the children more than the father. Is that the case in America a lot more? Maybe?
Yeah, I get the feeling that courts really seems to be the case that a mother tends to get custody if she seeks custody.
Mm-hmm.
But like there's also a huge industry around like divorce and the court proceedings. Like there seems to be a real like in America, and I haven't like looked into this too closely, but it's there's a lot of lawyers that make a lot of money off of family dissolution, right? And then basically create these very combative dynamics between former partners, right, including around the children, which are then disposed of or dispensated as though they were either commodities or liabilities that were created inside of the relationship. So it's very bad. It's very bad for the children.
It doesn't sound very good. I feel like America is way behind on like stuff like that compared to where I'm from, because I think there should be like no parent should own the child more than the other. I think that's extremely unfair and really behind on like how things are supposed to be, for sure. I don't agree on that at all. But if it is the case that like the dad just needs to like pay up and that's just like how it is, but he's not even like allowed to have the child, I think that's pretty unfair as well. I think I think there's a lot of things in that case that are pretty wrong with everything. Because if the mother just decides, I want to have this kid by myself and I don't want you to be in your kid's life at all, that's extremely unfair. And like you're just supposed to pay us money. I don't think that sounds very cool. I think there should be probably a better way to figure that out than what the laws are in America, if that's the case. But I haven't read too much about it. So yeah, whatever I say. But that's probably like my dream is that it should be like an equal way right here. If the dad wants to have the child, he should be equally he should have the opportunity to do so. If he doesn't, I do think that he should like do something for the child. At least if he doesn't want to take care of it, he should probably like pay or do something, because I don't think you can just like leave with like a really big responsibility of a life and then just give it to the mom. I think that's really unfair as well. So Yeah. Does that answer your question? Is that okay?
I took the next caller.
Okay. Maybe you can type in chat or something. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, Ninu.
Hi. So I wanted to know, what do you think about like divorces? Because the red pill community talks about divorces like in a really negative light, and it might make children who come from divorced parents feel like utter shit, like an outlier, or feel like they can't belong with people who don't have divorced parents, or they're lower in this, like in society they would be considered like a lower tier or something like that because they have divorced parents. Do you think it's important to like normalize divorce, and that divorce could be more beneficial than negative, and you don't have to force marriage if it just doesn't work out in a family?
I think the absolute worst thing that you can do for a child is to have parents that are fighting or being abusive, like in the family household around the children. Is like the worst thing you could do. I think it's a lot better to have divorced parents, or at least have one parent that is taking care of the child in a very calm, comfortable home, instead of just trying to force some sort of marriage to happen just because it says that that is the best thing, even though the relationship might be really, really awful. I think a child that comes from divorced parents, where there's been some sort of co-parenting, or where there's been one parent taking care of the child, is probably going to be a lot happier and a lot healthier, like a lot of a healthier life than have had two parents that just been showing hate towards each other and that's been together just for the child's sake. I think you should absolutely try to normalize that. I do not think that anyone should judge a single mom or a single dad, because relationship doesn't work out. Like, of course, no one goes into a relationship of the goal of divorce. No one does, but people change, things happens. Life is incredible and mysterious, but sometimes things doesn't work out, and sometimes a divorce is a lot better than a relationship sticking together when it's really, really, really awful. For everyone, I think it's a lot better to separate, try to figure out like how to take care of the child together or not, or whatever. But I think for a child to grow up in a very, very calm home is the most important thing, that is filled with love, no matter if it's with the parents or not. I don't think it matters at all. I don't think a family where there's two parents still together or not is any better from the other. It's just, it depends on how you can take care of the child. I think that's what I believe for sure. And I wish that we could normalize that a lot more, because I know probably a lot of parents out there that feel like they need to be together just because divorce is like the worst thing in the world. A divorce is a lot better than an abusive relationship, and that's just always what it's going to be like. I hope that we can normalize it, because I hate the fact that there's so many parents, so many couples out there that are sticking together in the most abusive way possible just because of what society tells them. And no one actually really seems to care about the happiness of the children or the marriage couple itself. Like, they don't care about the humans at all. They just care about the status. That's really sad to me. I hope that things will get better in the future when it comes to it. I feel for all of those. And I feel for all those kids also that has divorced parents that are getting bullied because they do. I hope people can be a lot more, less judgmental and just see as like, what is the best for this human being? That's all that matters.
Melina, are you familiar with that phenomenon of the nesting in, where people who are co-parenting children who are divorced, the household is basically like the family household is the children's, and then like the parent that is the one that takes 1 week off, 1 week on inside that home. Do you know what I mean? So that the kids don't have to basically like move house every week or every second week or on the weekends. Like the children remain in that family home, and then the parents trade off 1 week on, 1 week
so
off.
They basically have like a house and then they switch back and forth.
Yeah.
I've never heard about that before. No.
Yeah.
That's interesting. No, I don't think I know any of it. So that the kids are not just moving back and forth too much.
Right. The kids, it's their home. And then the parents don't get along, aren't able to co-parent like from within the same household or share a home. And so there's like, they each have, say, a condo or whatever. And then during their time with the kids, it's that parent who brings their luggage, to the house. And then,
That's interesting. I'm so curious how that would be. Because I could totally see it. Like, I could totally see it working, but I feel like it would only work if the parents are really good friends. Because like I'm assuming that there would be like two houses, like, and they would switch back and forth, I'm assuming, right? But like
it depends. Like sometimes the mom and dad each like maintain their own sort of like separate like bachelor apartments, like
there would
external.
be like three buildings.
There's three like houses, yeah.
I thought it would be like that they're going back and forth, like basically kind of live together but different times. But
Right, right.
Like, what if one of the parents gets a new partner? Like, would they like live in the same space? Like, I'm not sure how most people feel about that. But of course, like if there's like three, but that's a lot of money too, right? Like if you have
right, that somebody just commented that.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. I wouldn't expect everyone to do that, and I don't think it necessarily have to be the case that it would be bad for the kids that go back and forth. I know that, like, because my parents are divorced. I think what we did, I was too old when they divorced, but like for my youngest sister, I think she was like at my dad's for 2 weeks, and then she was at my mom's for 2 or something like that for a while. And then I think she could decide a little bit herself where she wanted to go when she grew up.
That's the harsh reality.
But yeah, I guess if you have the money enough to do so, that sounds pretty interesting for sure. For sure.
I read that it's something that's very that the kids have a lot of stability, like because they're in the same neighborhood, they're with the same friends in the same school, and they're surrounded by their things consistently, rather than, you know, basically like they become sort of like these nomadic, like, moving around every week to different.
I feel like it would probably like depend on like how much money they have, but also if the children would ever express that the thing is stressful, or if it looked like it was stressful, maybe they would need to like rethink a little bit. But I don't really see why it would be necessarily that stressful, because I don't think it was for my sister. She had her friends there and she had her friends there, and it was kind of like two lives, and it was kind of nice because she would be able to like practice, like what things were like at this place with people that were there, and then she would go to her other friends there. And I can just think about myself as like I moved around a lot when I was younger, and I always thought it was like really fun to get new experiences elsewhere and like meet new people. I thought that was always cool. But then of course, like going back and forth, and then have like some friends here that was really cool, and then the next week I'll have them. I don't really saw it as like a huge problem, but it sounds interesting to have like one house where the kids are at all the time.
So I mean, your personality is fairly adventurous, and you seem quite confident and like self-possessed. So probably, yeah.
No, but I know that some people hate traveling, some people hate moving around too much. So I can totally see that. But I think if you can try to figure out what's best for the child, is always what it is. But I don't think that necessarily like you're bad parents if you don't have like 3 houses. I don't think that necessarily have to be the case. But I've never heard about it before. It's that's interesting. Mm-hmm.
All right.
I have one final question. Yeah, that did. I have one. I just think it's important to talk about like normalizing divorce and stuff. Mm-hmm. I'd have one final question. So, do you think that like the red pill ideologies, like the strong red pill ideologies, are more harmful for women, men, or both equally?
I think the red pill community is harmful for both, for sure. I think it's really harmful for women because I think they get put in a category, and I think it could be like, I think of women are a lot more than what the red pill community is saying they are. So I think it's really damaging to just put like a bird in a cage and not ever let to fly like a child. So like treating women like children is probably really unhealthy, or it is really unhealthy, and there's a lot more that women can do, and I think there's a lot more women wants to express and want to feel like they're, powerful and whatever. And then for men, I don't think they will ever really have a real connection with someone. I don't think they will ever have a real connection with their partner. I don't think they will ever be able to express some sort of vulnerability. They're never going to be able to like explore their mind when it comes to emotions, or maybe like things that happens to them as a child. They're never going to be able to feel like they're taken care for, and I don't think they will ever feel real love, because they're always going to feel like she's only with me because she can't go anywhere else because she's trapped. Like I am the one with the finance, so she's never going to want to leave. I am here because because I have money, and that's the only reason she's here. There's going to be so much transaction that there's never going to be like, she's with me, for the way I am, for the things that I feel, for my background, for the passions that I have, for the music taste I have, or for the chemistry that we have together, or for the way I cuddle with her. Like, it's never going to be like the real raw like love things. It's always going to be just a transactional money, looks, being trapped. That's just not healthy. I don't believe in that for a second. Mm-hmm.
Great. There's a lot of agreement there.
Yeah.
A question in the chat. I wonder if Melina would travel to other planets if we had technology.
Because I travel so much. If you had a technology that was perfectly safe, yeah, of course. Imagine you could just take a train, to the moon. That sounds kind of cool.
Would you like be one of those like, to be put to sleep for like 200 years to travel to colonize a new planet?
No, I think there's a lot more to life than just, I think it would be extremely scary to like be put to sleep and then like wake up one day and know that like your entire family is dead. That does not sound very cool. If they would come with me, let's say, or if they would be put to sleep as well for 200 years at the same time as me, maybe they would be a little bit different. But also like time passing and things changing really quick is probably really terrifying because, I don't know about that. Yeah.
I would totally colonize new planets, like new things to hunt and fish and new terrain to explore. Like I would totally.
That would be interesting. Yeah. I mean, it would be. I'm just feeling very comfortable with the things that I have here. I don't like to think about death or like feeling like I'm getting separated from the things that I love, I don't like that idea at all.
No, it's a beautiful planet and beautiful things to explore, exactly as it is.
I wouldn't miss it too much, but like being in space sounds really cool. As long as it would be, I would know for sure that I would come back. I feel like just because of the risks, I wouldn't want to do it. Okay. I have too many things here to care about,
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Well, that's the end of our discussion. Thank you so much for joining me today.
It was very fun. For sure.
It's been a real pleasure. I really, really enjoyed talking to you. And I hope that you get more opportunities to talk about your views on relationships, especially. I'm really glad you're out there.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's very nice of you. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for having me express my thoughts and stuff on it. It means a lot.
Anytime. I would love for you to come back. If there's like a social thing that happens, I would love to get your view.
Of course, yeah. So good. I
want to be your Balkan auntie if you will be my Swedish adventure travel buddy.
All the love. That sounds great.
Yay.
Thank you so much. You have a wonderful day.
You too. Goodbye for now.
Bye.